Okay guys, so in this lesson what we're going to do is we're going to get into some basic music theory, some of the things that you absolutely need to know. This is all about rhythmic values. That's what we're talking about here, and we need a way to be able to write it down here. So I've got my pen, I've got a piece of paper, and we'll get into it now. So what we do with music when we're writing down beats, we generally use symbols. We use different symbols, and you may have seen this one before. This is a circle there. You can see I filled it in there, and what we do is we put a stick on it. So it's a circle with a stick. This symbol here, we call this a quarter note, and this is what it's called. It's called a quarter note. This makes sense, and I'm going to describe this stuff in the US term because this is what drummers speak in. This is how drummers talk. When drummers talk about rhythm, they tend to talk in terms of this numeric way of understanding what these things are called. But just for the sake of a bit of clarity, these are also called crotchets. In the English language, we would call that a crotchet. Now, I think the thing is, a crotchet, it sounds like to me like that kind of sewing with like one needle thing, and knitting with one needle thing, or that game that you play on your lawn with balls and hammers and hoops, you know, as in Alice in Wonderland. So it's a bit abstract as this. This, however, is not. This is bang on. It's really explicit. So this is my preferred way. Makes sense. We're talking in the terms of how drummers talk, so this makes sense to be the one to use. Crotchets, I will put the English in there as well, but you know, for now, just know that I will be using the US terms. So this quarter note is the note that we generally use as the standard for time signatures and knowing how many beats we have in a bar, generally in pop and rock music. And what we can do is we can do some sort of mathematics with this. And if we have two of those together, then what happens is we can end up with a bigger value. And this one here, this is the brings me on to this next note here, just to get your head around this here. So what we've got here is this quarter note. It lasts for a quarter of a bar. So if I have 4 of those in a bar there, you can see that what we get is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 there, so there's 4 of them in a bar, which is why they are called quarter notes. If that was one of them there, you know, if you've ever seen one of those caterpillar cakes, it's a poor caterpillar cake, you know, it's your birthday, you have a caterpillar cake at work, and somebody brings you one of those caterpillar cakes in, and there's only 4 of you at work. You cut it into 4 there like that, and everybody gets a quarter of the caterpillar cake. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is why these are called quarter notes, guys. So if we get a quarter and a quarter, and what we do is we add those up, you can see that what happens is we get a half. And that's what this note is called. And this makes sense, doesn't it, really? We've got a half note here. So if we go back to our bar here, yeah, we put a bar here. Now, the way to think of a bar is basically it's a bucket for your notes. There it is. It's a container. Just think of it as being, let's think of it as being a cat litter tray. Let's turn it into a cat litter tray. So there's the cat litter tray, and we have this container, but it will only hold so much. If you have a cat litter tray in your house, it will only hold so much, and you know when it is full. So what we want to do, we've gone a long way off from this. This started out, I don't know if I'm even going to publish this video because it's just got completely ridiculous now. We've got a caterpillar cake and a cat and a cat litter tray. The thing is, they all begin with cat. This is completely ludicrous, but I'm just going for it anyhow. So, bear with me. We can only fit so much in the cat litter tray. This is why it's a container, and that's what a bar is. A bar is a container. A bar is a container. And so that's what that does there. Now, what I could do is if I take these half notes, you can see that if I split that bar in half then that means that one of those equals half a bar. I'm just doing this invisible division down there. This isn't actually a line in there. This is why it's a dotted line there. It exists, but you know, I'm just still thinking about the cat litter tray here, right? So that's worth 2 beats, and so is that one there. If we take the half there and we put a half and a half together, Well, the fraction that we get for that is 1/1, which is 1. So what that means is we have one note that lasts the whole of the bar. And generally what I tend to do with this, if I was going to look at this and think about how I would use this for picking notes or strumming or anything else like that, what I would do is I would think I'm hitting on the right on the beat. This is the duration, so that's how long the note lasts, but I'm thinking I would hit or pick on that beat there. You see this little line that I put underneath here? So say it was pick down, I would pick down on there. That's when that would happen. The same thing would happen here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I would hit on the downstroke there. The idea to get behind this, guys, is that this is a whole note. So that's a whole note. It lasts a whole bar. You can see it lasts for a duration of a count of that. And if I split that in half, then what happens is I get 2 half notes. Makes sense. You take a whole thing, you cut it in half, you get 2 of it. And then if I split those halves down, then what you can see is you get this little hierarchy, and we get this 4 quarter notes. And it doesn't really matter what you do then, is you can see that these then can be mixed, and you can have different ones in a bar. Obviously if it's a whole note, then that's all you're going to get is that. But say I had a whole note, I've got 2 bars here, so I've taken that idea. There's a bar there and there's a bar there. I can only have 4 notes in each bar. An easy way to get your head around time signatures, I can only have 4 quarter notes in each bar. Hopefully that makes sense. 4 quarter notes, and this is where time signatures come from. Another video on that in the future. So if I look at this and I go, all right, well, let's have that one there, and then we'll have this one and this one. You can see that this little phrase here uses all of those ideas here. 1, 2, 3, 4, because 4 quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 quarters. And what that means is I would strike down on that one, and that would be where I hit. Those are separate hits because they're on the quarter. Then what happens is that would be for the full duration. And if you could say that that was maybe, well, you know, put a chord on it. If you imagine that was an E chord, you would strum down on 1 and 3 and 4 and then 1 of this bar here. And that could give you a rhythm. This is how you come up with these rhythms as well. It could be a motif for a melody. It could be a rhythmic idea for anything that you can think of. A note, a triad, a chord, an arpeggio, anything. There's lots of different stuff in here. So rhythms are something that you shouldn't overlook. And that's where I'm going to end this before I completely lose the plot again. Remember, a bar is a container like a cat litter tray, and the notes are like a caterpillar cake. I hope this one was useful, and I'll see you in a future video. If you got some value from this video, even if it's a laugh, then make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I'll see you in another one soon.